United Nations Convention on International Multimodal Transport of Goods. The states parties to this convention, recognizing a. that international multimodal transport is one means of facilitating the orderly expansion of world trade, b. the need to stimulate the development of smooth, economic and efficient multimodal transport services adequate to the requirements of the trade concerned, c. the desirability of ensuring the orderly development of international multimodal transport in the interest of all countries and the need to consider the special problems of transit countries, d. the desirability of determining certain rules relating to the carriage of goods by international multimodal transport contracts, of goods by international multimodal transport contracts, including equitable provisions concerning the liability of multimodal transport operators. E. the need that this convention should not affect the application of any international convention or national law relating to the regulation and control of transport operations. F. the right of each state to regulate and control at the national level multimodal transport operators and operations. G. the need to have regard to the special interest and problems of developing countries, for example, as regards the introduction of new technologies, participation in multimodal services of their national carriers and operators, cost efficiency thereof, and maximum use of local labor and insurance. H. the need to ensure a balance of interests between suppliers and users of multimodal transport services. I. the need to facilitate customs procedures with due consideration to the problems of transit countries, agreeing to the following basic principles. A. that a fair balance of interests between developed and developing countries should be established and an equitable distribution of activities between these groups of countries should be attained in international multimodal transport. B. that consultation should take place on terms and conditions of service both before and after the introduction of any new technology in the multimodal transport of goods, between the multimodal transport operator, shippers organizations and appropriate national authorities. C. the freedom for shippers to choose between multimodal and segmented transport services. D. that the liability of the multimodal transport operator under this convention should be based on the principle of presumed fault or neglect. Have decided to conclude a convention for this purpose and have thereto agreed as follows. Part 1. General Provisions. Article 1. Definitions for the purposes of this convention. 1. International multimodal transport means the carriage of goods by at least two different modes of transport on the basis of a multimodal transport contract from a place in one country at which the goods are taken in charge by the multimodal transport operator to place designated for delivery situated in a different country. The operations of pickup and delivery of goods carried out in the performance of a unimodal transport contract as defined in such contract shall not be considered as international multimodal transport. 2. Multimodal transport operator means any person who on his own behalf or through another person acting on his behalf concludes a multimodal transport contract and who acts as a principal, not as an agent or on behalf of the consignor or of the carriers participating in the multimodal transport operations and who assumes responsibility for the performance of the contract. 3. Multimodal transport contract means a contract whereby a multimodal transport operator undertakes, against payment of freight, to perform or to procure the performance of international multimodal transport. 4. Multimodal transport document means a document which evidences a multimodal transport contract, the taking in charge of the goods by the multimodal transport operator, and an undertaking by him to deliver the goods in accordance with the terms of that contract. 5. Consignor means any person by whom or in whose name or on whose behalf a multimodal transport contract has been conducted with the multimodal transport operator, or any person by whom or in whose name or on whose behalf the goods are actually delivered to the multimodal transport operator in relation to the multimodal transport contract. 6. Consignee means the person entitled to take delivery of the goods. 7. Goods includes any container, pallet or similar article of transport or packaging, if supplied by the consignor. 8. International convention means an international agreement concluded among states in written form and governed by international law. 9. Mandatory national law means any statutory law concerning carriage of goods the provisions of which cannot be departed from by contractual stipulation to the detriment of the consignor. 10. Writing means inter alia, telegram or telex. Article 2. Scope of application. The provisions of this convention shall apply to all contracts of multimodal transport between places in two states, if a. the place for the taking in charge of the goods by the multimodal transport operator has provided for in the multimodal transport contract is located in a contracting state, or b. the place for delivery of the goods by the multimodal transport operator has provided for in the multimodal transport contract is located in a contracting state. Article 3. Mandatory application. 1. When a multimodal transport contract has been concluded which according to Article 2 shall be governed by this convention, the provisions of this convention shall be mandatorily to such contract. 2. Nothing in this convention shall affect the right of the consignor to choose between multimodal transport and segmented transport. Article 4. Regulation and control of multimodal transport. 1. This convention shall not affect or be incompatible with the application of any international convention or national law relating to the regulation and control of transport operations. 2. This convention shall not affect the right of each state to regulate and control at the national level multimodal transport operations and multimodal transport operators, including the right to take measures relating to consultations, especially before the introduction of new technologies and services, between multimodal transport operators, shippers organizations and appropriate national authorities on terms and conditions of service, licensing of multimodal transport operators' participation in transport, and all other steps in the national economic and commercial interest. 3. The multimodal transport operator shall comply with the applicable law of the country in which he operates and with the provisions of this convention.